Hello. So you're a therapist, maybe you're a teacher, and you want to start a podcast, but you're not sure you have the bandwidth. Well, listen up. This episode is for you. So welcome to Empowered Endeavors, where business strategy and purpose come together to turn your passion into a platform and to take your ideas all the way to implementation so that you can create real impact. I am your host, Shaunna Lee. I'm the best-selling author of So You're Divorced, So What? And I am a business strategy consultant for executive thought leaders, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and aspiring storytellers. Together on this show, we are turning burned out professionals into purpose-driven powerhouses. And today specifically, you guys were talking about why podcasting is the perfect tool for my therapist and teacher friends. After last week's episode with Bobby Donahue, and we talked all about Planet Bonehead and his mission to help educate kids on really important environmental situations and problems and solutions, it got me to thinking, we talk a lot about teachers, and you may or may not know, but I recently started substitute teaching and being a guest educator at the local elementary school. And it's interesting because I clearly did not do it for the money. But I have such a soft spot for teachers. And really, it's because of the kids. And anything that I've ever done in my business was because of the little people and my wanting to make the world a better place for kids and how they're learning to maneuver their way through the world gets easier and better directly because of the people who are in their life. So if I can help a divorced mom get back on her feet faster, and I can help create a new way to monetize what she's naturally good at, the result of that is that the kids in her life get a happier mom. And if I can help teachers by filling in the classroom so that they get a much deserved break, or create a way for them to earn more money, or create an avenue for all of the heart-centered people in the world who are having a positive impact on children to get their message out there and to have a bigger impact, that I want to be a part of. And that is why we're doing this episode today. So in these traditional roles like teaching and therapy, it actually translates really, really well into podcasting. And some people are thinking about it and already have the kind of nudge or the whisper in the back of their mind. But let's be honest, we all are very busy and most of us don't have a lot of time. So the idea of taking on a new project like creating a podcast can feel daunting and overwhelming, and like, why on earth would I take on more to do when I already have more to do than I have time to do it, right? I'm going to give you some really specific reasons why you would want to do that in this episode. So one, it's going to let you create another avenue of a teaching tool. So it's going to allow you to expand upon that session where you couldn't quite get everything out or communicate everything, or that particular client wasn't quite in the space ready to hear what you had to hear. But also it gives you the ability to provide more context. So being able to connect deeper with your clients or students, or even the people in their lives that you don't get direct interaction with, gives you the ability to have a bigger impact and to extend your reach as to what you're here to do. And lastly, and most importantly, the piece that I feel most compelled to help with is to monetize your gifts. So which teacher out there couldn't use a little more money in her pocket? Or another avenue to hashtag clear the list, being able to create another avenue in which you can be financially supported allows you to breathe a little easier. It allows you to show up a little better for that thing that you love to do. podcasting can give you the avenue to do that. So I can teach you all the ways to start a podcast quickly and to do it in a way that is not requiring a ton of extra time on your plate. And we talk about all of these in this podcast series, but today really what I wanted to talk about was why it's important for the teachers, educators, therapists, heart-centered experts to show up in a podcast, and a couple of reasons why you would want to do that. So first and foremost, podcasting as a teaching tool. So if we think about a podcast as a library of resources, there is no reason why you as a teacher couldn't spend your summer creating your podcast and let it live as a resource, not one that you are continuously adding to or increasing episodes, but one that you continuously refer to as a resource throughout the year. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Episodes on a podcast are bite-sized lessons. People have short attention spans these days. They don't have a lot of time to listen, but they can listen, typically tune in for 15, 20 minutes or whatever span of an episode. It's your show. You get to decide how long the episodes are. You get to create bite-sized lessons for those short attention spans. It lets you simplify really complex ideas with smaller little sections. It lets you kind of simplify the overall message and give little bits and pieces for people to tune into which piece they want to learn more about. Another really great way that a podcast can be a teaching tool is that it allows you to extend your classroom or extend your practice. So think about how much information you're trying to convey in a single class, or how many times you've gotten to the end of a session only to realize you had all this other information that you wanted to share and you didn't get an opportunity to really dive in really deep on that one particular topic. And the last really, one of my favorite things to point out is we all know that everyone learns differently. And one of my really favorite therapists was a couples counselor that I went to in one of the many couples that I have been a part of. And every session, I love this woman. Every session, she would give me so many book recommendations. And I would read a lot of the books, but I couldn't possibly read 3 or 4 books a week. And more importantly, not everybody likes to read. That was her go-to modality. Her office was filled with all of these different books. Half the time I would be zoned out and just reading the titles on her shelf. The point that I'm coming back to is that not everybody is a reader, and podcasts let you provide a resource to those people. You could summarize a book that you've read in an episode. It allows you to convey the information in a way that still gets the point across. It allows you to meet people where they are. So for the people who are never going to read the book recommendation that you have, for the parents who are never going to show up to learn a new way of parenting, it lets you provide the context and the information in the way that they will potentially consume it. And so being able to present your podcast as a resource to your clients, your students, or the parents of your students, it lets you do this second thing, which is build a deeper connection to the people that you're trying to have an impact on without burning you out. So the way that podcasting can be in some ways more work up front, it creates your impact on scale. So it lets you do a couple things. One, you speak one time and you share it many times. So you can say the one thing without having to repeat the same conversation to every single parent that you meet every single year. And you could just record one episode. And then at the beginning of every school year, you introduce your podcast to your classroom parents as a resource. It means they can tap in every so often in your weekly email to your parents. You can say, hey, by the way, did you listen to this episode? It provides a resource without you having to do more work. Yes, you create the conversation and the episode up front, but then you're not repeating yourself and doing the same work over and over and over again. It creates scale and allows you to increase your impact. So being able to do a deep dive episode on attachment theory means you don't have to explain it in every single session that you have with each couple that is mismatched on their attachment styles. You can just say, hey, by the way, I've got a great resource for you. Listen to this podcast episode. And it gives them the ability to learn the information and consume the information in private. They can process the information. It allows them to still be taught when in some situations they might not be open to it in person. So I don't know about you, but most of the parents I have met are not really open to parenting advice that is unsolicited. However, if you were to introduce them to a resource that allows them to see titles of episodes and they can opt in to certain conversations or certain topics, they likely are going to be more interested to hear. The other way podcasting can really help you create this deeper connection without burning you out and going through the same efforts over and over again on repeat is it's allowing you to create healthy boundaries while still being of service. So how many times have you wanted to provide parenting advice, but you know it's not quite your role, right? As the teacher, I'm not really the one who's supposed to be telling this parent how they should be parenting their child. However, you can still create context to what kids need, how they learn best, what kinds of different ways that kids learn that will open the eyes of parents and make them better parents because they know how to connect with their kid. They know how to support them at home so that they're set up for success in the classroom. How many times do we think, gosh, that kid just needed a little extra sleep? Yes, we don't know what's happening at home, but also, what if the parents don't understand how crucial sleep is? Potentially, just is one tiny little example. So you can't always tell your clients necessarily what they should do, right? These are one of the regulations or rules that therapists work within. You can guide them though. You can create expert driven content on a podcast episode that can be shared, which gives them the tools to make the decisions that you know they need to or that you're guiding them to, right? So you can't, what do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We'll make your job easier by creating the content and just providing it as a resource so people can opt in and you can remind them of certain episodes. And these are really great ways that creating a podcast can be a resource in this library of information that lives and doesn't need to be continuously updated. There are no rules that say because you've created a podcast, you have to keep creating episodes. So you can create episodes and you can create seasons and then stop recording. Nothing happens. You can still keep sending people to your podcast. The only reason you would want to continuously add content to a podcast is if you are trying to grow the audience of your podcast, where content needs to come in on a timely basis. But if you're using it as a resource, it could even be a secret podcast, which is one of the strategies I'm seeing a lot of coaches use right now, where they create a secret podcast that you only have access to if I've invited you with a specific invitation. There are no rules. There are no rules. You can make it up, but you can use podcasting as a tool to create that deeper connection. And my last topic on this particular point is podcasting, even when it's a conversation between two people, it is a one-way flow of information. It is the ability for us to normalize topics and destigmatize certain difficult conversations. It makes these really important topics relatable. It gives you the ability to make a conversation age appropriate. Like last week's episode with Bobby Donahue, we talked all about how he's making this idea of climate change, this really big, important topic, kid friendly, and being able to create conversations around things people typically aren't talking about or might be controversial. Podcasting is a great way for you to create an episode on that and bring that topic to conversation in a one-way dialogue. It allows you to share information and people can consume it and process and sit with it and not necessarily be pressured to have a response, especially when they're really important topics that are heated. It allows us to just share information and open up the questions and open up the conversation so that people are hearing about it, but not necessarily needing to reply in that moment. And then my third and final topic. So we talked about how podcasting can be this teaching tool, and it's a great way to build deeper connection without burning you out, because we all know we have very little time as it is. The last one is that you can turn listeners into your clients. You can create new opportunities for income streams. So hear me out. For the teachers who are listening, it is an amazing way for you to become the expert on this topic that you are teaching of. Because you have a podcast, because you've spent time and energy to create episodes, because you are sharing in a way that is building your expertise, you become the person people want to learn more from, which means they will be more open to signing up for a workshop or a program you've created, or maybe you've created a guide on a particular topic that is a one-time, I've created an ebook or a PDF guide, and you can charge people little bits of money for a single item that you've created one time and use each of your episodes to promote that particular topic. It gives you a way to monetize what you are good at and to monetize your value add to the conversation. Scale is the key here. Scaling your brilliance is the way you monetize your value. It is the way that you create a new income stream to supplement what you are doing. Now, hey, listen, maybe you are the teacher listening and you're like, yeah, I don't want to charge my parents. I work in a low income area of town and I don't want to create something that is just going to charge my parents. Great. What you could do is create an episode and your call to action is for parents to share with their coworkers so that they can fund your list of supplies in your classroom. It could be that your call to action is just that you need more Kleenex, or that you want to create a specific project in the classroom and you need a set list of supplies. There are all sorts of ways that you can relieve your financial strain by simply making the ask to your audience. So there's all sorts of creative ways that you can either monetize what you're good at and create a value add resource that people are willing to pay for, or simply eliminate some of the things that you are having to pay for out of pocket by asking other people to help. A lot of people will use Patreon for their podcast as a way to just garner donations. So you could create an entire podcast that is donation driven and people just donate towards whatever your classroom needs. There are so many different ways that you can monetize what you're good at. And for the therapists, my therapist friends who are listening, I cannot even think of how many different friends of mine that are therapists for children could create resources for their parents that they would pay for beyond the session that they're paying for you to counsel their child. Being able to create a resource for the parents is completely supportive. And another way that you can create another income stream, whether that is a program you've created to help parents connect with their teens, or a workshop that you're going to host on, the man who writes How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and How to Listen So Kids Will Talk, like that needs to be a workshop that is in every town. Like I just being able to assist parents in how to talk to their kids, whether you are a teacher or a therapist, is a huge, huge value. And parents will pay for that shit. So monetize what you are naturally gifted at. Monetize what you are good at to help alleviate your life and to create a new income stream. And I will just tell you, I have a really great example. A previous guest of mine, if you go all the way back to season 3, episode 106, I interviewed Jill Galata, and she is not only a therapist, but she's also a coach, and she does both. And we talked about what the difference was in that episode, the difference between coaching and therapy, because she has done just this. She's using podcasting as a way to create more impact, and she expanded her therapy options by providing coaching packages. So being able to offer programs to people who wanted to be told more directly than she was able to as a therapist, kind of what to do and how to do certain things. That is an excellent example of someone who is utilizing uh, their career as a therapist and then expanding beyond that and creating a new income stream and being able to use podcasting as a way to do that. So those are my 3 different reasons why you guys as teachers or therapists should consider using podcasting, and ways that can help you increase your impact, amplify your growth as a human being, and continue your mission on education. And here's what I will give you as your small little, I like to say baby steps are better than no steps. Here's your small little baby step to take for today. Go consider what your first 3 episodes would sound like. Just noodle on it when you're on your afternoon walk. When you're in the car next, turn off the radio and just think through what kind of episodes would I talk to? And if you can plan 3 episodes, I will tell you, you have the basis for an entire series. You have the ability to create a podcast, and one series can lead to the next series, can lead to the next series. So if you have questions on how you could actually do that, I would love to have a conversation with you. So send me an email, send me a DM on LinkedIn, in whichever case that you would like to reach out. I would love to hear from you, and we could jump on a call together and we could figure out, what does it look like for you? And is that a viable solution? I will tell you, yes, it is, without even hearing what your idea is, but I will help give you structure to the idea. And I can't wait to hear from you. So next week, I'm going to bring you another amazing guest. So be sure to tune in. And as always, if your company, if your community, or your team specifically could use some fresh insight around storytelling, reinventing yourself, personal leadership, I would love to bring that conversation to you and your teams. So I am opening a few dates for spring and summer speaking engagements. So message me if you're ready to have that conversation. And I am so excited to talk to you. So please reach out, send me a note. And remember, as always, your story matters and people need to hear it. So let's build something extraordinary together. I cannot wait to hear from you and to read your messages. We'll talk soon.